that we're not getting much coverage of this Clinton email, one leak after another in batches, because so many prominent media figures are involved in exchanges with the Clinton campaign folks and Hillary Clinton herself. Media reporter Joe Concha on that. Joseph, I mean, just accidental, coincidental? What do you make of that?
Accidental, coincidental?
Yeah.
No. Look, Neil. John Harwood is the chief Washington correspondent for CNBC. He's important enough at that network to be moderating debate. He's also a correspondent, or at least a contributor, to the New York Times. So here's my question on national television to Dean Baquet, who's the executive editor of the New York Times, and Mark Hoffman, who's the president of CNBC. How does John Harwood have a job right now? And at the very least, why hasn't he been suspended? Why haven't your organizations issued an apology? Because here's the thing, Neil, you've done 100 of these. Media bias, you have on a media reporter like me, we talk about how horrible it is, and the problem keeps getting worse. And until there is accountability being somebody needs to be fired here or suspended to send a message that integrity matters. Instead, what we're getting is tacitly from management of these organizations is it's okay for one of their employees, who's a prominent employee, on air or in print, to be colluding with the presidential campaign.
All right,
this is
they
serious.
They're not colluding, he's just sending emails reflecting on the campaign.
He's advising.
So there does seem to be a pattern of others who either in offering their sentiment on an interview or being invited to a big cocktail party, whatever, or trying to ingratiate themselves, will do almost anything to stay in that ring of power. But is that why we don't see as aggressive coverage on this, getting this out, as we did on a certain 11-year-old tape of Donald Trump?
It's all about what party is being affected here, Neil. So if this affects Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton benefited from, let's say, a Donna Brazile, who was with CNN at the time, and somehow got questions on a CNN town hall that they were sponsoring, co-sponsoring, I should say, with TV One. She wasn't involved with that town hall in any capacity, and she passes those questions on to the Clinton communications director before the town hall. And she has an email, smoking gun, subject header. From time to time, I get the questions in advance. You know what time to time says to me? That means that hasn't happened once. That has happened on several occasions. So again, I say to CNN, why haven't you said Donna Brazile is not welcome back at this network when her chairmanship ends at the DNC? And why haven't you announced an internal investigation from an outside entity to look into how these emails ended up in her hands and eventually into the Clinton camp? We haven't heard a peep out of CNN on this. They are vastly irresponsible on this, and Donna Brazile doesn't deserve to have a job here as well. I'm normally not an emotional person,
but
I can't believe
what's
how this is being ignored.
If you're trying to ingratiate yourself with the campaign, what's very clear in a lot of these back and forths is how little the campaign thinks of these people who seem to be doing its bidding. Dismissive views of either who you give an interview with, or whether you'll be doing it, or bouncing it off this, or getting pre-screened questions, as if they're all pawns on a chessboard.
Mark Leibowitz is another example in the pawns on the chessboard. He is a New York Times writer. He actually went ahead and went for quote approval from the Clinton campaign for quotes that he had of Hillary Clinton. 2012, Margaret Sullivan, the New York Times, she's basically a watchdog for the New York Times, public editor it's called, said that quote approval is not allowed at this newspaper. So again, Dean Baquet, you run the show there. There is clear evidence of this on paper of one of your reporters doing this. And all I see today is Mark Leibowitz has another story out. There is no reprimand, there is no suspension, there is no firing, there is no accountability.
And one was ingratiating himself to a conservative, or God forbid Donald Trump. Well, I have a feeling that person would be out.
Yes, exactly. Let's put it this way. Let's say somehow Sean Hannity, who has openly endorsed Donald Trump, he makes no bones about that, he is unapologetic about it. Let's say he got access to Chris Wallace's debate questions and passed them on to Donald Trump. There would be a throng of people outside extending 7 blocks, and Twitter would actually break, Neil. We all know this, and that's exactly what Donna Brazile did
in 147 characters. All right, Joseph, thank you. Whatever. Thank you, my friend Joe Conte. It does make you think, all right? So it's fair, it's fair. But if you ever want to know why there's not a lot of scrutiny of these emails, that might have something to do with it.